Yes, companies are beginning to use Web 2.0. You know, when Web 2.0 first came out, it was viewed more social, more Facebook-oriented, and now there are major organizations that are building major ecosystems, Web 2.0. And we've already moved into the next phase of Web 2.0, which is Web 3.0, where the internet takes on more virtualization, more intelligence. Web 2.0 is just primarily about bringing people together, but businesses are embracing Web 2.0, and they're doing some interesting things. For example, I won't mention the company, but I'm working with a major pharmaceutical who's bringing together scientists, researchers, and education together to collaborate on a global basis, all via Web 2.0 technology. Also, the federal government, when they make grants to scientists, today they don't really want to give grants, major grants to individual scientists, but by having a collaboration and an ecosystem via Web 2.0, they now can pull together birds of a feather, if you will, scientists who have a shared common focus, and they bring them together and they can collaborate and they can work jointly against that. So yes, you're going to see a lot of interesting business applications. We think of Web 2.0 as more social and more Facebook-oriented types, but you're going to see a lot of business applications as we go forward, and there's a lot of major companies working that.
You can have a wholly owned Western company in China. It's not that much of a problem. The main issue is you have to have what they consider a reasonable bank account, a definition of, when we start a corporation, you go to an American lawyer and they'll tell you, put in these words for the purpose of your company, so it'll give you lots of flexibility. The opposite of that is what they want in China. So it'll give you a narrow playing field, because that playing field are the rules by which you are going to abide. You should have 15 to 20,000 absolute minimum in the bank, 100,000 renminbi in the bank, a single transfer. That's a qualification. You need a resume that legitimatizes the business that you're going into. It's sort of a protection of the Chinese people sort of view. In other words, we didn't let anybody come in here and put up a shingle and say that they do this. And then you have to have a native endorser, somebody who says, I'm your partner, or I endorse you, and so that they can put somebody in jail if you do badly. So those are the kinds of things. But it's not difficult now. But this now is 2 years old. But you don't care. It's behind you. Trust. Build it. Take your chances. Manage to trust. And it'll work a lot better.
Obviously, when you contract with someone, you sign up for an engagement, you sign up for specifications, and at the end of the day, if it comes back and it meets your standards, and it was executed with excellence, and the solution is excellent, then you know you got your quality standards. But I can say that the Indian culture, the Indians, they have very high level CMM level standards. More so than a lot of companies in the U.S., which is an engineering standard for software. They run to very high standards. They utilize standards. They utilize certifications, and they have excellent standards in place for software engineering. That's part of what you need to do in order to gain the trust and garnish that kind of work.
I think for complex software projects, I consulted to this one company, and they were doing outsourcing. They outsourced this whole project to Russia. This cost them the company. And so they gave them the specs, and the Russian engineers built the stuff, and it was this enterprise software application. They brought it all back, and they put it together, and the performance was terrible. And then they asked the guys, they said, well, why did you do this? And they said, well, you didn't say I couldn't do this. And then so the lesson learned is that to go off and do this, and we were talking about other companies consulting how to do this. When you have those Russian engineers, they shouldn't have just mailed them the spec and said hope for the best. You have to, they're people, and you have to manage them as if they were part of your company. And actually, if they had people here in the US that were like project leaders that basically talked to those guys all the time, as you would normal software engineers as you would here in the US, they would have got a lot better result.
I can say definitively, you can't do it, you shouldn't do it remotely. You should have your final acceptance just before you do a wire transfer payment and have people on the ground in China. I couldn't have, you can do it if you have a real serious aerospace company that responds to specs, but otherwise you'll get toys that have lead in them. You'll have this or you'll have that. But if you're right on the ground, there's no question that their heart and spirit is to make you a satisfied customer. But that doesn't mean you will be when you get the load.
I think at the end, I think what's happened is you have, whether you have projects here in the day program or you have projects in the online program, if they're meritorious of venture capital and investment and whatever, we'll do the introductions to have those people meet venture capitalists. But a lot of times, as you know from working things don't work out. And so you don't necessarily want to introduce people to something you don't think is a top flight opportunity. But I assume in this online program there will be some top flight things, and we will basically pool our resources in the school to figure out who are the introductions that we have to do.
Thank you so much. I definitely want to thank the audience for bearing through all this. I would have to say this. I always end these kinds of workshops with nothing but conundrums. You know, I mean, some of you know what conundrums are. I mean, more questions than answers, you know, and for everybody who has gone to anywhere in the world and done business, you come out shaking your head. How did I survive? What made me succeed? And I think, though, that, as I said, if people knew the real answer, they would not share it with you unless you paid for it. So, but I am hoping that they allowed you the opportunity to peep through the keyhole and see what they did. And we have opportunity tonight, thanks to Anthony. We got cocktails out there. I think our panelists would have a chance now to drink 1 or 2 beers, and they might even tell the truth. You know, and it's been a great evening with you. Thank you so much, and let's continue the dialogue, the conversation. Thank you.